The Ludum Dare game jam started at 10:30 AM for me on a Saturday morning, sort of a perfect time. Except I had work at 11:30 AM, but that still gave me like 30 minutes to work out a solid idea. The theme? Keep it alive. So my first thought was Nintendogs, because that game's amazing. Then I thought about how I was gonna do it. I wanted to make a 3D game, but I don't think my modeling skills are up to scratch yet, so I decided to do 2D with a pixel themed art style, and this is where PixelPups was born. I got home from work and the first thing I did was get my girlfriend to design some PixelPups for me as I tried, and it was sorta terrible. From my 30 minutes of planning prior, I had a small scope of the game that I thought could be made in about 10 hours of work, so I got started. I made a pup wander aimlessly in the scene, which was great. Then I created a health bar, which was the sum of 3 types of stats that I wanted the pup to have. The first was the sleep stat. This would go down and eventually get to 0 by the end of the day, meaning the pup would need to go to sleep. Then there was the food stat, which goes down every 12 seconds, meaning you need to feed your pup 10 times a day. Lastly was the attention stat, which goes down every 15 seconds, meaning you'd need to play with the pup about 8 times a day. This originally differed as I was going to make each day 10 minutes. I soon realized there wasn't enough to do in the game for that, so I made it 2 minutes and adjusted the point accordingly. Every stat had a total of 4 points, making a total of 12 points for the health bar. Pretty simple to implement. I did a lerp so the bar would look smooth as the points updated. Sunday, I didn't have much time to work on the game as I had a long shift at work, so I spent the morning implementing a day-night cycle. The day-night cycle was pretty simple. It used an update loop that would check if the current time was less than the time I specified, and if it was, then it would count up and change stats based on their respective timers. They would all reset at their specified time. When the time was up for the day, then it would call a fading controller to fade in a panel. The panel shows each stat at the end of the day. After 5 seconds, it would fade back out, play a cool tune I made in FL Studio, and then start a new day timer. After that, I made a feed controller and an attention controller. These spawn some food or a ball, and then you get to either drag the food over to the pup or swipe the ball in any direction and the pup would follow it. These give out a food and attention point back to the pup. Now the tricky part of the gameplay comes in here, because if you feed the pup or play with the pup 12 or more times in the day, then the pup will become overfed and overplayed, meaning every time you try to feed the pup from then on, it will lose a sleep and attention point if it was fed, or it will lose a sleep and a food point if it was played with. After this, I went to work and didn't get back to the game until Monday because I needed some relaxation time after work. Monday. I got up early on Monday because I wanted to finish the game, but I realized I wouldn't have time as the compo finished at 10:30 AM, so I decided to do the jam instead. I woke up and had a quick play test of my game, and I realized it looked really bad, so I decided to create some of the background art and fencing and stuff to make the scene look like a house with a backyard. I had a few issues with the new tile map editor as I've honestly never used it before, so I had to look up a quick tutorial on setting it up right here. Once that was all out of the way, I painted my scene and it looked beautiful. Just kidding. But it was nice enough for me. The next thing I did was implement an automatic saving and loading system, which saves all of the pup's current stats, the day count, and some of the other little things I implemented after this point. I've actually had quite a bit of experience in saving using binary formatters. That was nice and easy to implement. The worst part about testing was being able to test from a new save, which I now realize I could have just deleted my save file, but I wasn't about that at the time. So it led me to creating a title screen because I needed a new and a load button. This led me down a path of creating some terrible title screen music using a single barking noise that I made. After that was done, I got the 5 pup designs from my beautiful girlfriend and animated all of them. This took me a solid 2 hours, with the first hour creating the animation for the first pup and the second hour copying the first animation to all the dogs because I'm lazy. I then needed to implement the animations, so I did, which led me to making a pup selection screen. And I added a name because you always need to have a name for your cute little puppy, right? I also used the same barking sound and randomized when the pup would bark. I made and randomized the pitch and saved the pitch value so every puppy you create has a semi-unique barking sound. Then it was about 1 AM, time for bed. Tuesday, yes. Thanks to my time zone, I had until 10:30 AM on Tuesday to finish my game. I got up around 7:30 AM, giving me 3 hours to fix all the bugs I had and to create the shop because I was sort of holding off on that because, you know, can be a lot of effort. Now I spent the first 20 minutes writing the start of my shop controller, and then I made some pretty bad panels for the shop. I realized I needed some art for the items on the panels that I'll be selling in the shop, so I did a sloppy job of that, and I just realized I did the sloppy job on my other screen, so it wasn't in the recording. Oops, but it was fun. I implemented coins and added them to the save data. I also saved the shop items individually, and I'm not proud of the code I wrote in the last hour and a half because I just wanted to finish the shop. I ended up making a lot of individual items in a list and generating them and saving them with individual balls from them. If I had more time, I would have set up a scriptable object for each shop item and saved their purchase value in a dictionary, but oh well. There are 3 items. One is a food bowl that replenishes the food stat instantly. Every morning from then on, it adds a point of food to your pup, making things a little easier if you had no food points at the end of the day from the day before. The other 2 items are a bed and a chew toy, which do the same thing as the food bowl, but for the sleep and attention stat. I created some soothing background music in the game because it felt dull and it was on my list of things to do. I actually liked how it turned out. It was very simple, but as they say, less is more, right? I fixed a few more bugs and then started building and uploading my game with less than a minute to go. It was great. It was fine though because I had an hour of publishing afterwards. I ended up rebuilding my game in this last hour because there was a bug with the coins being negative to start with, which I thought I fixed, but apparently not because another person had the same issue a few days later. But I was officially done. I'm really proud of what I managed to achieve with about 20 hours of work. I set a goal this year to finish projects because I'm terrible at finishing projects, as it's probably the hardest part of game development. I feel like since I kept the scope down on the game a lot, it allowed me to just finish the game just in time. The only things I wrote down that I didn't achieve was creating some more upgrades and cosmetic items like treats, toys, costumes, and fancy colors. But the game didn't feel incomplete without them, so I left them out. In the future, I would like to learn more about animations and pixel art, as that took up a lot of my time since I'm not that great at it. I would also like to have been testing my game more and with new saves by deleting my save files so I would get a better understanding of a player's first playthrough. I want to say a big thank you to my friend Sorexicus for purchasing my game for a sweet $4.20 USD, which had an exchange rate of $6.90 AUD at the time of purchase on itch.io. You can play my game at chiller.itch.io/PixelPups if you have a Windows computer. You can also vote for my game on Ludum Dare, but I'm not sure if the voting is restricted to people who entered the gem or not, but the links are in the description. I also want to say thank you to my supporters, Benonis and Joshua on Patreon. These are tough times, but support me if you'd like to there. Join my Discord server if you haven't already, and be sure to like the video and leave a comment if you want me to check out your Ludum Dare entries. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and as always, thank you for watching.